Thank you, it's great to be here. I'd like to talk about this chasm between developer and DBAs. And seeing as we've got, it's 9 days, isn't it, until, 9 or 10 days until the next episode of Star Wars is in the cinemas. It felt appropriate to pay tribute to that with a bit of a Star Wars theme. So I co-founded Skelton Thatcher Consulting. We do stuff with software teams and operations teams. So here's the chasm, right? We've got the DBA on the left-hand side. There's a poor developer, and the DBA has just cut off the developer's hand because he said, no, you can't use that crappy MongoDB database, you have to use Oracle. So that's clinging on there. No, please don't make me use Oracle. That's what it feels like most of the time. This is what I observed. Now watch this. By the way, who's a fan of Star Wars? Put your hand up. Who has never seen Star Wars? Who hates Star Wars? Oh, okay, all right. Right, so here's the Rebel Alliance symbol. And what you'll see is it actually looks quite similar. It actually looks quite similar to a curly brace, right? Here's the Galactic Empire symbol. And what it actually is, it's the top of a big data. Maybe coincidence, maybe not, who knows, right? So this is what it feels like when you have a conversation between a developer, a DBA, and the DBA say, where's the referential integrity? Like, haven't you thought about this stuff? And then we have these kind of tributes. Oh yeah, I'm a funky developer. I managed to get my stuff into production, and I used Cassandra, or I used something else, and I got around those DBA teams. So I got my stuff out. Is your data actually safe? Is it back? No, I don't care about that stuff. I shipped the stuff. I got around the DBA team. So here's one view of the databases. One view of the databases is as a single kind of consistent store of smart, useful company information that we can query, and it's a single source of truth. There's nothing wrong with that view. It's just one particular view. It's very incompatible with another view, which is more a developer view. You can't really see the picture there. That's inside the Rebel base, by the way, on Hoth, is it? So the developer view is a database serves the needs of the development, or the application, but then kind of it's within the remit of the development team to work out what to do with the database. These are really mutually incompatible. The thing is, it's a trap to see these as two incompatible ways of working. Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. What are we trying to achieve with this stuff, right? In 2015-16, how do we need to think about changing databases and working with databases to best serve the needs of the organizations that we're working for? We need to make sure that database deployments are rapid. We can't have a very old school manual way of reviewing every single SQL change before it goes into production. That just doesn't work because the volume of change is too high. But it needs to be safe as well. It needs to be frequent, rapid, and safe. Frequent and rapid without the safety is going to mean data loss and you out of a job very quickly. But we need to be more nimble as well. We need to be able to use smaller units of change. We need to be able to respond better to demands for new features, for new integrations, whatever. So some kind of Jedi tricks like this that's what it feels like to start with when we start down this path. We also need to avoid going too far and having kind of free-for-all with data where kind of every small team is doing its own thing and there's no sense of cohesion across the business. It's particularly in terms of data. So we need to take some advice from a Jedi master, right? And we need to use the source. So all our database scripts need to be in version control, every single one. That includes what some people call reference data, or you might call it static data. But certainly schema and anything that defines your database. So I'm particularly talking about relational databases, but this stuff doesn't just apply to relational databases. We need to use continuous integration and test-driven development. We've heard about that this evening for how we design and develop our databases. We need to test this stuff in a deployment pipeline. Hands up who's using a deployment pipeline in their everyday work. Hands up who's not heard of a deployment pipeline. Okay, So go and there's a really good chapter of a book that's entirely about, it's free, it's online, The Anatomy of the Deployment Pipeline. If you search for that, it's really, really useful to find out. We can also use something called the homomorphic force, which is a term invented, I think, by Alan Kelly, and it relates to Conway's law. And Conway's law is formulated something like this. Basically, the shape of the systems we build reflects the communication patterns of the people who are building it. And this means that, essentially, if you have a single small database team and lots of product teams, you'll get a monolithic database in your architecture. And there are some other patterns we'll look at in a second. So you get some weird and wonderful architectural shapes. In practice, what it means is that we need to start with the teams. If we know we need a particular architectural pattern that looks like this, let's set our teams up so that it sort of matches in terms of the communication patterns. So someone's going to say, what about microservices? What about microservices? Because that's the thing, right? Well, okay. We need to be careful of data duplication with microservices. If each microservice has got its own data store, that's kind of fine up to a point. What happens if we've now got two representations of a customer? Does that matter for the business? It might not, but we need to work out whether it does. We might want to add a data capability within the team. Rather than relying on a single central database team, maybe we pull some sort of capability within the product team to do stuff with data. We need to adopt some new techniques, right? So there's CQRS, there's event sourcing, there's various funky things like this. Here's a technique, actually talking to the DBAs. It's quite an interesting one. It's remarkable how well that can work. So at the end, we've got a nice kind of combined logo here. You see what I did there? So that's the combination of the Rebel Alliance logo and the Galacticum. Anyway, so we've got source code for our database here. And it turns out, if you watch the film, if you go back and watch episode 4, you'll find that Obi-Wan is talking to Luke and is actually holding something in his hand here. Turns out it's actually a copy of this book. Anyway, so we've been writing this for a while. Anyone know who Grant Fritchie is? Anyone who's on the SQL Server side of things? Anyway, he's online as the scary DBA, which tells you all you need to know. So he's a scary DBA, and I'm the kind of happy-go-lucky developer, right? So we've been writing this book for a few months. It's free. You can download a copy. We're doing it in a continuous delivery fashion. So as and when we finish a chapter, we release a chapter. So then you get updates as the whole thing is finished. And yeah, as I said, it's free to download it. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, so there's lots more thinking about this chasm going on in this book, basically, which is why I wanted to, why it's forefront of my mind to characterize it like this. That's pretty much it. Thank you very much.